Hey everyone, my name is chaoticwolph and welcome back to a case of Distrust. We got our first case, don't know how good it's gonna be, from one local bootlegger named Connor Green, who seems to be being threatened by perhaps competition, but we're not gonna know more until we actually go gather some clues. I think we were like still on the hinge of like deciding whether to take his case or not, but I guess we're taking it. So we went down to talk with our little buddy Frankie, and then Connor Green's wife just came storming in, but I guess we somehow resolved that she could be a clue of some kind, I guess, which is why we got introduced to her, but we can't really do much for now until we actually do some, detective work instead of just guessing here. So let's get out of this place. The worn stairs led to the outside world. Let's leave. I was heading up the stairs when Frankie called after me. So what are you going to do? I've been thinking. Well, I just met little Fanny, aka Connor Green's wife, so I don't think I've been thinking about her. I guess I've been thinking about my sister. I've been thinking about my sister and that letter she had written to me. In some ways, her life sounded appealing, but I knew I would never be satisfied with it. I steeled myself. I guess I'll take Connor Green's bait, I replied. I've got nothing better on the stove, and he might need the help. Something still stinks though. Well, what's your plan? Frankie asked. The way I see it, I have 3 goals right now. Oh, that's a lot of goals right off the bat. Green hired me for a job. Find the guy who wrote the letter. That's the basic part. But you want more? Asked Frankie. I nodded. Green's a shady character. I have to learn about him. Who is this guy? Dig in his past. I can't go back to him blind. And then there's something about his bootlegging. How did Green get a connection like that? What's his source exactly? Squeezing that lemon might give me more juice. I'm guessing that all these stuff is going into my notes here. We will check that out after this. Ooh, it flashed. I guess I added stuff. That sounds alright, he replied. So where is it you're off to? I've got 3 leads. That bootlegger stable, who Green claims sent him the letter. The Tin Spoon Lounge, where I might learn more about Green's rum-running schemes. And Mrs. Green, who could give me more dirt on her husband. Frankie nodded his approval. Well, if you're ever stuck, come back and see me. You can never solve anything without talking it over. I smiled and went up the stairs. I guess if I'm ever stuck, I could come, dish it out with Frankie, who'll probably help lead me toward the right thing on the job. I was debating where to go next. Southern Coffee, where we just came from, and then these are 3 clues. Let's take a little look at our notes here. They actually put our goals here. Okay, Green's bootlegging case smelled foul, but so did everything else in this burg. I decided to take the case. I had to chase Green's letter, find more about his past, and look into his bootlegging. I could follow Green's lead to Redstone Stable, the bootlegger thought. He thought he had sent him the letter. I might try the Tin Spoon, the speakeasy owned by Green's business partner Tiny Paul, and where his wife also worked as a torture. Or I could visit Green's wife at their home. But they welcome me? So no evidence, I guess. What should we do first? I think we should investigate his bootlegging first. I don't know. I was either to find the source of the letter or the bootlegging thing. Oh, damn, what was it again? Okay, so I'm not going to their house first because that's probably investigating its past. So the bootlegging would be at the Redstone Stable. And the Tin Spoon is probably investigating his bootlegging. You know what? Let's go to the Redstone Stable first. So, Stable's barbershop. Green had suspected Redstone Stable of sending him that letter. Apparently, Stable owned a barber shop in the financial district. I figured there would be no harm in asking Stable about it directly. Go here. I flagged a taxi cab and I was on my way, Can we always talk to them, but do they ever give us anything useful? I'ma talk. As I glanced towards the driver, I spotted a strange device attached to his windshield. A rectangular mirror, about 3 inches tall and 7 inches wide, was held by a metal bracket. Is it like some kind of camera, or I just want a small talk? I asked about the mirror. He looked at me through it, without needing to turn around. See how I can see you? He asked. I can also see that bull behind us. I turned in my seat and saw a police wagon a block behind us. It's called a cop spotter, he continued as I turned back to the mirror. Sold by this fellow Burger. Works pretty well for knowing when to bend the law. Speeding? Might be a good tool for bootleggers, I offered as we arrived at my destination. Is that a hint? Is that a clue? He turned around for the first time with a wide grin. Yes, it might be. Oh, are you implying that you're a bootlegger, dude? I smiled back and left the taxicab. Cool. The barber shop was down an alley in the financial district, opposite the Red Brick National Bank. The small bell above the door twinkled as I walked in. Twinkled? Who's this guy? Let's ignore you for a bit. The hat rack was a deep mahogany engraved with gold lettering that read Fraser & Co. Furnishings. The maroon leather chair looked comfortable. It seemed elaborate for a barbershop waiting chair. Well, maybe it's for when the mob boss comes to visit. The two sides of the mirror's frame were cylindrical, painted blue, red, and white to look like barber's poles. They clashed with the otherwise elegant furnishings. The modern hydraulic barber chair had always seemed ostentatious to me, but this one with its soft brown cushions and gold embroidery was the most ornate I had ever seen. Stable's cabinet was similar to my own, but where mine was a dull gray metal, his was a deep red wood that looked heavy. Maybe because he can afford nicer ones. The frame on the back wall contained a yellow photograph of an old man. He had an authentic smile and held scissors in his left hand. Left hand, huh? Is that cool? Okay, I think I looked at everything except for, this door and you, so let's look at this guy. There was a tall man in the center of the room. He was wearing a flamboyant pink suit, tailored to accentuate his stature, with a maroon bow tie and pockets square. I gathered this was Redstone Stable. Why do you have such a weird name, dude? The man turned to face me. He grinned, and his squinting blue eyes made the smile feel genuine. I must apologize, he said. We do not take walk-ins. What kind of high-class barbershop is this? I asked him for a chop. I don't think I need a chop. I told him right here, study his face. Let's, take a look at his face first. Look, he smiled. I studied his face. The wrinkles around his eyes indicated he was at least 40, but the rest of his skin was clean and smooth. He wore no hat and shaved his head completely bald. When combined with his smooth skin, it hinted at the look of a small turtle. That's not very flattering. His pink suit and maroon accessories only added to his eccentricity. He smiled and said, "How foolish of me. Of course, you are here for information, Miss Malone." Damn, you got that really quick, dude. Well, how about a chick? I'm not here to flirt. I asked him my name. I know his smooth voice. I asked how he know my name. I guess I'm kind of famous as a sucky detective. I asked how he know my name. He tissed a few times and said, "That is a dull retort. You know you are not a standard detective. Please do not act as mundane as all the other sleuths." He sighed, but put a smile back onto his face. "Yet perhaps you are here on a matter of interest. What is it you want?" Ask about notes. I guess we're gonna be direct and ask about that letter. Where my letter? Letter. Oh, here, Green's letter. Yeah, let's go with this one. I pulled Green's note from my pocket and showed it to him, but didn't let him hold it. "Green tells me this letter is from you," I told him. He doesn't like the threats. Stable lowered his head to study the note, then chuckled. His knowing grin returned to his face. "But this is a Black Hand letter," he said, flourishing a hand towards the paper. "Have you ever seen a Black Hand letter, Miss Malone?" I confessed I hadn't. "Exactly," he said. "You should ring your friend Shipman at the station and ask what it means." What does it mean? I guess it's a gang of some kind. Sam Shipman had been one of my uncle's regular partners in the Vice rackets. I wonder what Shipman could have to do with Green's case. Stable seemed to think that he had a lot to do with it. I pocketed the letter and continued with my questions, but I made a note to stop by police headquarters and see Shipman. "Well, Miss Malone," he smiled. "Will there be anything else?" I guess we can try to ask as much as we can, but it's like we gotta ask the right questions. Which frankly, I don't feel like I have much. I can ask you about your barbershop, but honestly, I don't think I care. This is home crap. There's nothing in the case I could use to ask. I guess these stuff could work. Know my name, suspects him, got a threatening letter. I don't think I want to reveal this. This seems to be like revealing too much information, kind of. Can I actually ask about this? How do you know my name? How do you know my name? I questioned. He smiled again. He apparently liked smiling when he was pleased with himself. Barbers hear gossip from around town, Miss Malone. Sometimes that gossip is worth remembering. And what gossip had you heard about me? I asked. Just that the niece of the late San Francisco detective Louis Malone had resigned from her policewoman duties and started a private detection agency. But that was months ago, was it not? I confess, I have not heard much since. Is that an insult, dude? I know I haven't taken on any, very well-known cases, but we're working up towards that. I asked if he known Louis. I guess he would know it. I asked if he known Louis. Not well enough, he said. I hear he did his job by the letter of the law, and I lost that alphabet years ago. Is there anything else we have to ask? I really feel like I'm not getting anything from you, man. I feel like this might reveal, but I also don't know if I should say that, though. I feel like he's not gonna know anything about this. Maybe? Suspect. No. So this guy's like a secret bootlegger. Why did I ask this? I feel like this is the same thing as the threatening letter, Green claims you bootleg, I stated bluntly. His grin didn't waver in his response. Will you hang me on Connor Green's claims? I may partake in some gambling and I may have a talent for it, but it is nothing illegal, I assure you. And you know nothing about Green's own bootlegging, I asked. Stable shook his head. I doubted he would ever answer a question straight. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get anything from this guy. Let's leave. Well, Miss Malone, he smiled. Will there be anything else? Nothing now, I said, and turned back to the barbershop. I looked around Stable's elaborate shop. I already looked at it. Let's go, I guess. The front door had a bell on top of it. Leave. I guess if I ever discovered anything, I could come back to it. Should I go over here immediately so I can follow up on this thing? I guess let's go here first. Police station. I always dreaded visiting the PD after I'd flown the coop, and I was in no mood right now. But if Shipman did know something about Green's note, I had to chase it up. Let's chase it up. Oh, we're gonna talk again? Did they ever give me any useful information though? I glanced towards the driver and noticed the right side of his face was covered by a tin plate, painted to match his light skin tone. Set in the plate was a glass eye. I asked about his disfigurement. Is this kind of too prying? I asked about his disfigurement. He gave a rough grunt and said, "The war." I stayed silent for a moment. He added, "Lies near Flanders." "Which division?" I'm so nosy. It's because I'm a PI. "Which division?" I pressed. 69th Infantry, he replied. Again, after a pause, he continued. "The Hun came at us quick. Don't remember much." He tapped his faceplate and said, "Early casualty." "Was that your only battle?" I asked. He gave a short grunt and nodded. "Wish it wasn't. Many friends stayed at the front." We rode to my destination. He turned to me and smiled. "Thanks for talking. Most won't look at me." I smiled back and stepped out of the taxicab. "Oh, you're alright, dude. You're alright." The North Beach Station was SFPD headquarters, also poetically baptized the Hall of Justice. The building dominated the corner of Kearny and Washington in Chinatown, were built after the 1906 earthquake. I thought it looked even more sour than it had before. Are people gonna welcome me or are they gonna not like me? I strode to the young bobbed girl behind the large oak desk. She must have been new, because we shared no recognition of one another. When did you leave again? Probably recent? The barber mentioned it, but I kind of forgot. I asked for Shipman, and she motioned me to a chair as she pressed a pearl button. I sat down and she disappeared through a frost door. I rolled another cigarette to pass the time. You smoke way too much, man. Between puffs, I thought about... if you hate the shape of my smoke plumes. The history. Let's learn about the history. Between puffs, I thought about my history at the department. I imagined the station captain would have been furious had he known I was there. I did, after all, break a tumbler with the help of another officer's tempo. That had been my last day on the force. So that I'd leave or was I fired? It wasn't long before Shipman walked out of the frosted door. "Hi, buddy, how's it going?" Samuel Shipman smiled when he saw me. I guess he likes me. Samuel Shipman smiled when he saw me. He had always been helpful to me in my days on the force. Working closely with Lewis, he acquired the habit of bouncing theories my way. He judged officers purely on results, and because of that, he was one of my few fans. We exchanged brief pleasantries before he said, "Wouldn't come here for glad handing." He had a habit of removing the subject from his sentences. "What needs doing?" "A lot needs doing, man." "Oh, your eyebrows raised. It's so weird because you don't have eyes." I explained my case to him. He scoffed when I mentioned Connor Green. "Working for that pinhead. Got a good mind to run him out of flagpole. I just need to know about this letter." I handed him the note Green had given me and explained its context. After looking it over, Shipman tried to stifle a laugh. "Complete bunk," he said. "See the symbol in the corner? Mark of the Black Hand Gang. Except Black Hand letters are always ransom letters, not threats. No foothold on this coast anyhow. Never been one in California, so what you're telling me is that someone made a fake letter trying to pretend to be the Black Hand Gang. So the letters are fake." Shipman nodded. "Someone trying to imitate the Black Hand." I grunted a sigh and noted what he said. But who still doesn't really tell us who it is. Well, we know it's not a member of the gang, but who is it? "Don't know if Green is getting one over you," he said, "or if someone else is pulling Green's leg. But having more dirt on the man couldn't hurt, especially if he's your client." I agreed. I've been trying to dig through his past. "You got any bunk on him?" Shipman shook his head. "No. From Oakland is all I know. But I can do some more digging." I thanked him for that. Under a pile of advice, though. Might take me a while. Why don't I telephone when I find something? I had no office where I could receive messages, but I dreaded returning to the station. I told him to call Southern Coffee. Just leave anything with Franklin Conway, I instructed. He said that was alright. We traded goodbyes, and I went back to the station's entrance. Guess I'm so poor I can't even afford a phone, so I'm gonna have to hang with Frankie to learn more if I ever get anything from him. Now I knew the letter was fake, and Shipman was looking into Green's past for me. I just needed to chase up the bootlegging lead. I stepped into the street and thought about where to go. "So you're saying I don't need to dig into his past, I just need to look up some bootlegging stuff?" In that case, let's go to the Tin Spoon Lounge. The Tin Spoon Lounge was a speakeasy in North Beach run by Tiny Paw, the gangster that Green had put in with. I'd never been there. The mob keeps a tight lip on their own houses, but I figured it would be a good place to chase Green's bootlegging story. I'm gonna always talk to the taxi drivers because they have interesting stuff sometimes. We made some idle banter. He was a jovial, middle-aged man, joking and laughing often. The conversation turned to my profession. "A working girl," he said, and his mane hardened slightly. "It's such a dangerous gig." I told him it wasn't as bad as he probably thought. Well, I'm a bit old-fashioned when it comes to these things. To me, motherhood is the most saintly work. I'm sad many flappers are turning it away. Okay, no thanks to motherhood. I disagreed. "I'm sure being a mother isn't easy," I said, "but any woman should have the right to choose her work, and there's no reason she can't do both." He tissed a couple of times and said, "What for?" I have a niece thinks the same as you. You're dropping a lot of words in between, man. "Problem is, a working girl earns half what her husband gets, and she won't ever go as far. Mrs. President, Not in 100 years. And then, the poor girl comes home drained as the last drop of whiskey. Now she's too tired, who's left to cook or clean for the children. Why can't the parents do it? Why can't everyone do it actually? Everyone chip in, guys. Can't both parents share responsibility? I can't believe I'm getting into an argument with a taxi driver. He nodded vigorously. Of course. I didn't mean that a father plays no role, but raising a family is a full-time gig. Why strain a marriage? It's no wonder divorce is so common. And what happens to the children of a broken home? Are we giving up our values for a nude roaster? I hate to see what the youngins after us do. Might burn the entire world down. We pull up to my destination. I nodded thanks and left the taxicab. Thanks dude, bye. I opened the cab door in front of a North Beach warehouse with a wooden sign. The sign's text was too warm for me to decipher any of its English, but a small gray spoon was still visible below the letters. What is this place again? I rapped my knuckles twice over the large metal door. A panel, well, okay, it's a shady place. A panel just above my head slid sideways to reveal a pair of eyes. Actually, I disagree, there are no eyes. The eyes looked me up and down, then just stared ahead. They were black and held no emotion. The room beyond was dimly lit, so I couldn't see much of their surrounding face. I cleared my throat, then a rumbling voice emerged from behind the door. Fill full your cups, feel no distress, at all our great thoughts shrinking less. I looked at the eyes, still unmoving. I understood. The doorman wanted a password. I thought it might have something in my notes that could help. Dude, I don't think so. Where in the world would I get the password? I don't know anybody that knows these guys. Yeah, I think I might need to come back here because I do not have a password. But like, I really don't think I have a password for this. Is there anything? I mean, Green didn't give me anything about the tin spoon. Why is this evidence? When did I get a password? Am I gonna use the password as the password? I repeated his line back to him. Oh, that's hilarious. Yep, that's what I said to ya. But that ain't what I'm looking for. The doorman wanted a password to conclude his riddle. Fill full your cups, feel no distress, and our great thoughts shrinking less. I don't think I have a password, dude. I stayed silent. After a beat, the small window slid shut with a thud. Prohibition was a joke in San Francisco, and most speakeasies would let just about anyone through the door, but the mob ones weren't as relaxed with their rules. I knew I wouldn't enter until it said the correct response. I wonder who I could ask about a speakeasy password. Maybe Green? He does deal in that kind of crap. Green's house might contain more clues about his past, or some reason a threatening letter would come his way, and if I got lucky, Mrs. Green would be there to pump with more questions. Actually, I want the password, dude. Actually, Frankie might know the password, I feel like. The driver asked if I heard the new radio program, WLS Showboat. When I said I hadn't, he launched into praise about the floating palace of wonder. You see, there's his captain and his first and second mates, right? They go around sailing all the rivers of the US. Of course they're terrible at running the ship, doing things like, he broke his sentence with a chuckle, hanging laundry on the paddle wheel. Can you imagine? He let out a belly laugh. I didn't get any of that, dude. What are you talking about? Well, anyhow, they also play music from the different places. Twangs from the south, trumpets from Chicago, and they run it weekly. How about that? How about that, I replied, and stepped out of the taxicab at my destination. I left my driver still laughing to himself. Well, a jolly old dude. The Green's apartment was a section of an old Western edition mansion. The owners had divided for struggling families to rent after the 1906 fire. Once downtown had been rebuilt, people of means moved out of the area. Recent immigrants, mainly from Japan, rented most of the apartments in this part of town. So is it a nice neighborhood or is it a bad neighborhood? I knocked on the front door. Why are you lounging here like this, lady? I knocked on the front door but didn't get a response. The latch was undone, so I pushed it open and stepped into the room. That's not good. I hope you're just like asleep or something, dude. What is laudanum? The room reeked of laudanum? Based on the smell, I imagine she had enough opium to knock out a horse. Ooh, that's not good. I found Mrs. Green slumped in her chair, eyes closed, head rocking slowly. Okay, I guess she's just chilling out, having a good time. "Hello, Mrs. Green," I said loudly. She let out a long moan from the chair, then lifted her head, but failed to raise her eyelids. She tilted her head to the side, giggled, then let it low back into place. I guess I can ask her stuff because she's totally high, I guess. I shook her lightly and she moaned again, but said nothing more. Okay, she's useless, I can't get anything from her. The grey trench coat was hanging in the doorway. It certainly looked identical to Louis. "Did you steal my uncle's trench coat, dude?" I searched the pockets and found no identifying marks. It might have been a different jacket, but its recent appearance was off-putting. The bottles on top of the round table were mostly empty. She drank everything. What is this? I opened the drawer of the backmost table, and it were 2 train tickets. I mumbled "St. Louis" to myself, but then came the cackling voice of Mrs. Green. "Ha! Forget about moving, Connor. I won't budge." Her head was raised, but her eyelids still remained closed. I asked her further questions, but her head just lolled back to where it had been. There was nothing else she'd say. She is so, drugged up. A wilting plant was on the furthest table from the door. I could never keep plants alive either. Even as the petals fell, they were still a vibrant yellow. There's not much clues in this apartment. Really? The ashtray on top of the smallest table was overflowing with spent cigarettes. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get much from here. Can we talk to her again? Or is she still gonna be unresponsive? Well, I think... Hey, there's a bottle here. Empty bottles were strewn around the apartment. I brought one to my nose and smelled the distinct aroma of laudanum. I guess it's a type of drink? Opium mixed with booze, a harsh tonic. That is just gross. Okay, I think there's nothing more to be gained from here, so let's head back to our Frankie. The frame was just warped enough to prevent the front door from completely closing. Maybe he'll have extra information for us? Shipman said he called Southern Coffee if he found any dirt on Green. I could go see if I had any messages. Of course, if I was stuck on the case, a stiff drink with Frankie could give me some hint as well. I started talking with the driver, who began speaking about his recent European vacation. Went to Normandy on a streamliner. I asked about the trip. "Oh, the Olympic was grand. Excellent machine. Crossed the Atlantic in 5 days. Plenty amenities in their new tourist cabins too." Let's ask about Normandy. I asked about Normandy. He pinched his nose between thumb and forefinger and shook his head from side to side. I can see why these immigrants keep flooding in. That entire old world stinks. You only eat frogs and snails? No, the streamliner is where I want to be. Next time, I'll just stay on the boat. So you didn't like Normandy? He still had the frown on my face, and his face, as if we pulled to my destination. Okie dokie, Frankie, you got anything for me? Is this the keg? Once I asked Frankie to lend me some cash from the register, he growled so fierce that I decided not to ask again. I didn't think his employers would notice before I got it back, but maybe he just wanted to save me from myself. For becoming a thief, maybe? Frankie was still behind the bar. I wonder if Shipman had left any messages for me. Of course, Eva was stuck at— okay, the same thing. Same. I looked at Frankie. "What's eating you, kid?" he asked. Let's ask about Shipman's message first. I sat on my regular stool and rapped my knuckles on the bar. "Any messages, Frankie?" I asked him. "And what do you mean by that?" Well, I told Sam Shipman, an old contact on the force, to leave any dirt with you if he found it. Frankie laughed. "So now I'm your bartender and your secretary? Say, if I become your housemaid, will you at least pay me?" "So I'm guessing you haven't heard anything," I said. "Nothing yet, Miss Chief," Frankie chuckled. "Shipman's supposed to call you by Green. What have you got so far?" "I've got nothing, dude. You got a password?" "No real breaks to speak of," I said. "Well, alright. I'll let you know if this Shipman gives me a call." I thanked him. "What else you got?" he asked. Let's ask about the password, dude. Maybe you know it? I feel like he might, because he's a bartender. The tin spoon doorman kept me outside the joint. He wants a password, but I have no ideas. Fill full your cups, feel no distress at all our great thoughts, shrinking less. He says, who knew gangsters were the riddling type? Frankie laughed. All our great thoughts, shrinking less. He said, oh, is that the password, dude? What? I asked, puzzled. He turned and grabbed a bottle from his shelf. Vintage stuff this, strange they use it as their code. He handed me the bottle, and I read the back of the label. So if you drink, you would know this crap. Fill full your cups, feel no distress, and all our great thoughts shrinking less. We'll do a good deed nevertheless. Oh wait, this is the password. We'll do a good deed nevertheless. So the password was the poem from this vintage label. I now knew what I had to say to the doorman. I knew you would know it, Frankie. Alright, now we know the password. Well, alright guys, I will leave this here. I knew Frankie would know the password. I mean, besides the fact that he's like our tip guy, he's the bartender, I feel like he would know this kind of stuff. Considering the tin spoon is like, seems to be like some sort of like alcoholic hideout. Probably like a private club of some kind that deals you alcohol because prohibition. So, actually, how many of our goals did we actually do? I think we only did one. Yeah, we found the source of his letter, which is not from the actual Black Hand Gang, but we don't know who is impersonating the Black Hand Gang. We couldn't really investigate. Well, we couldn't investigate the bootlegging because we couldn't get into the tin spoon yet. And then we couldn't really do anything with, Green's past because your wife is like really high on drugs right now and booze. I don't know, maybe you should like go home and take a look at her, dude. It's a little worrying. So I'm guessing our next thing would be because now that we get the password, we can get into Tin Spoon. And there, we're gonna learn a bit more about the bootlegging process. As for just finding more about Green's past, it seems like we're waiting on Sam's counseling here, and he hasn't given us anything yet. So that's gonna take the back burner. So in any case, our next step is definitely to get into the Tin Spoon and find out more about the bootlegging. So I will leave you guys here, and in the next video we will do some more of that. Are we going undercover? Not really, but we're gonna do some more digging, and then hopefully Sam will have something for us. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.